umaga, Carla, kapag-usapan natin ang isang initiative para sa isang tobacco-free environment para sa ating lahat. At ngayong umaga, may mga kasama tayo mula sa World Health Organization. This morning, we have Miss Dr. Julie Hall from the World Health Organization. Good morning, Dr. Julie.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Doctor, maybe we could talk about more the tobacco-free initiative that the World Health Organization is organizing for all of us.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a long-term campaign to try and get us to a world where there is no more tobacco, no more people dying from smoking. Half of all people who start smoking will actually from their habit. So we know that smoking is harmful, that it kills, and in addition to that, we know that it's a very ugly habit as well. It gives people wrinkles, it gives them yellow teeth. So for all of those reasons, we would like a world free from tobacco, from smoking, and from all of those harmful effects of smoking or using tobacco products.
Yes.
Actually, a big move that the Philippines did over the previous years was the sin tax law.
Right, right.
A lot of people were against it.
Right. And also there's this graphic warning about the law. Like last week lang, Sandro, ako pa nagbalita nun. So it's a very good step. Right.
So how, you've been here in the Philippines for a couple of years also, and then you've seen the sin tax, which is now a law in the Philippines. So how do you think this has affected the smokers here in our country?
Yeah, I mean, the Philippines it's a really brave, really important piece of legislation, is the sin tax, and you should be very, very proud of your country and your legislators to introduce this. Because what sin tax does is it does three things. First, it makes the price of cigarettes very high, and that will get higher and higher over the next few years as the taxes go up. And we know that the price of cigarettes makes a big difference to whether people smoke or not. For young people, it makes a big difference to whether they start smoking or not. And if we can price cigarettes out of the reach of children and young people, that's a whole generation who could be smoke-free, which will be fantastic for their health, for the health of their children, for the health of their families, and ultimately for the economy as well. So that's the first thing that it does. But the second thing is that the revenue, the taxes that come from sin tax, go to two places. They go into health, so that we can do more health promotion, more education, and also pay for the poorest of the poor to be able to access healthcare, which is really important. And then the third thing is that some of that taxation goes to the tobacco. They can, over time, find a different livelihood as the population starts to reduce the amount of smoking, so the tobacco farmers can find alternative employment. So this is fantastic. High prices, fewer people smoke, and particularly young people. Many fewer will actually start smoking. You know, more taxation goes into healthcare. A win for all, and then eventually over time the tobacco growers will be able to find alternative sources of income.
Right. Dr. Julie, besides promoting this campaign, how do you promote to take the to promote the costs, the bad costs and effects of smoking to the people?
Well, you mentioned before about picture warnings.
Yes.
And pictures, pictures say 1,000 words, and pictures tell the truth about what smoking does to people. I said half of people who start smoking will die from their habit, but of the other half, many of them will get effects where, say, their fingers don't get enough blood. So working, they get gangrene there, they get wrinkles, they get throat cancer, lung cancer, heart disease. All of those can be shown as pictures. You can see on the packet, if they introduce the picture warnings, what I see as a doctor. Patients with brown, dirty fingers, lungs that are full of cancer. And so having those pictures there can help people understand really what cigarettes do to you.
And then now that we've seen the sin tax law being implemented here in the Philippines, and I understand that you've been here in our country for back when you were 18 years old.
Yeah.
So you've seen the difference of how it was before and how it is now. Before, people were able to smoke inside restaurants, inside enclosed areas, inside the malls, and now that you've seen that this is no longer allowed. How do you feel about this? Like, what's the statistics of with the people that smoke? Has it lowered?
Yes, yeah, so you're right. I was very lucky. I came to the Philippines which was a few years ago.
Yes.
And then at the time, everyone could just smoke in restaurants, you could smoke everywhere. Whereas now you can't, which is fantastic. It reduces the amount of second-hand smoke, which obviously has an effect on people, even if they're not smokers themselves. But you also just see that people recognise it as a dirty, impolite habit. So people are much less likely to smoke in front of others. They'll take it outside rather than have it indoors, which is great. But I'll tell you one other thing that I see, though, which makes me rather sad. When I was here when I was 18, very few young women smoked. It really wasn't something that young women did. And now, unfortunately, young women are smoking, and they're the one group that is starting to increase the amount that they smoke. So all the young women out there, smoking is ugly, smoking is dirty, smoking will affect the way in which you breathe, the way in which you look. You know, if you smoke, that will damage your baby, and ultimately smoking kills. So young ladies out there, there's plenty of other ways to make yourself attractive. You know, spend that money on makeup, on on toothpaste, on clothes. Don't spend it on cigarettes, please. So that's the big difference. I've seen it go from a country where lots of people smoked to now many fewer, only 30% of the population. That's still too many, but only 30% now of the population smoke. But young women, what are you doing? Please don't do it.
Right. Let's go back to the campaign.
Yeah.
How many or who are involved in this cause? Also, I also want to ask, Sandro, how do you think this campaign will benefit for our country or for the rest of the world?
Yeah. So, I mean, as I said, half the people who smoke will die. And they die often at young ages where they have to say goodbye to their children. As a doctor, I've seen so many young mums who are dying from lung cancer or other cancer. And they barely have the breath to say goodbye to their children. So reducing the number of people who smoke, and particularly young people who start smoking, just don't do it, will make a big difference to the health of the population as everyone ages, but also makes a big difference economically. Those healthcare costs are enormous. And if we can make sure that when you go to the hospital you're going for other things rather than a smoking-related disease, that's going to save the country an awful lot of money.
And Mama, going back to the sin tax law, we've seen, and you've stated that this has stopped the younger ones from starting smoking. But now that we have the people the older ones probably, who can still afford to smoke and who still buy cigarettes even though the price has already increased, and which will constantly increase as we go along, how do we help them out to probably stop the habit that they have with smoking?
Yeah, well, we were talking earlier and you were saying, with your you have bets with them about not smoking. You will sort of personally fine them if they do smoke. All of those things make a big difference. If you smoke, it is an addictive habit and you need support from your friends and your family to stop smoking. If you've got good friends, you've got good family who really care about you, they'll help you stop smoking so that you can make little deals. You can come up with a time when you're going to quit smoking, and from there onwards your friends and families can congratulate every minute of the day that you are now a non-smoker, and that makes a big difference. So support from family and friends is huge. And I must say to any kids that might be listening, you pestering your parents to stop smoking can make a big difference. Many people, many adults, after years of smoking and being heavily addicted, stop when their kids say to them, Mummy, I want you to live. I want you to be able to see my children. Please stop smoking.
Actually, factor when you think about the children. I mean, for parents, because you know that you're smoking, but the second-hand smoke actually affects the younger ones. I heard that it's more deadly for you to inhale second-hand smoke as compared to the person who's actually smoking.
Well, it's certainly more dangerous to actually smoke the cigarettes yourself. You're getting a huge dose of that tar and all of those chemicals. But second-hand smoking also has its dangers. And we estimate that 6 million people die from smoking every year around the world. 500,000 die from second-hand smoke. So it still kills. So if you're a smoker, be polite and take it away. Take it outside. Don't smoke in the home. And particularly if your parents, please don't smoke around your children. For children, it's particularly dangerous to inhale second-hand smoke. They're much more likely to get ear infections, chest infections, and obviously you're setting them up for a whole load of health problems into the future. So mum and dad, don't smoke the children, and definitely don't smoke if you're pregnant. That's a really dangerous form of second-hand smoking, for your baby, having to cope with all those chemicals. It doesn't need that.
Yes, actually, Doctor, I think the culture of smoking has probably evolved throughout the years. Like back in the 70s, I hear that it was like a status symbol when you smoke. Like it was a social thing that everyone was smoking. They saw it as something that was good, something that made them cool, especially with the emergence of the Marlboro Man. But eventually, the Marlboro Man actually died of lung cancer.
That's exactly right. Yeah, he did. So smoking is not sexy. It's not cool. It's not attractive. Nice clothes, makeup, good conversations, they're all attractive and sexy. So invest in those, not smoking.
So it's probably a good thing that the advertisers are not allowed to show their tobacco products anymore. Like, let's say with the Formula One, which used to be a big ad for the tobacco. They had their logos and their brand names posted on all of the cars, and now we're not even seeing any other commercials on TV or hearing them on the radio with regards to the tobacco products.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And so the more that we can reduce the advertising and the marketing, the better. So some of it on TV and radio has gone, but we still see the signs around. We still see the giveaways of hats and things like that. So the more that we can squeeze that marketing and advertising, raise the price, squeeze the advertising, get the messages out, all of those things are needed to squeeze the number of people who smoke and eventually, hopefully, have a smoke-free world.
Right. Okay, so this is a very nice topic. And Sandra, talaga, we learned a lot from you, Dr. Julie. So my last question is, how long will it take for us to feel the positive effect of this campaign or of this project?
Well, it's very much out to everyone in the community there. If you smoke, you can quit today. And we were talking about this particularly for younger people, making those pinky promises, with the little finger, with your friends out there. Make a pinky promise never to smoke, and if you currently smoke, make a pinky promise to stop smoking very soon. And in that way, we could have a smoke-free world very, very quickly.
Right.
Oh, thank you so much.
Actually, you're right, Carla. We learned a lot today about the effects of smoking and how it'll help everyone when we stop smoking. For the smokers, when they stop smoking, and how we can find ways not to introduce smoking to the younger ones for the long-term effects of everyone. So that was Miss Dr. Julie Hall from the World Health Organization. Thank you for your time this morning, and thank you for everything that you've shared with us this morning.